Keir Starmer is sailing into a political disaster that could see Labour losing its grip on coastal constituencies. His push to reset relations with the EU is sparking fury in Britain's fishing towns, with leaked documents revealing Brussels' ambitions to reclaim UK fishing rights. Reform UK is circling like sharks, ready to capitalise on the chaos. And we've got a clip of Sir Geoffrey Cox delivering a blistering warning about Starmer's Brexit betrayal. Don't miss this.
Are you worried that the Brexit that you fought so hard to do with Boris Johnson is under threat?
Yes, I've always been worried about it once this government was elected, and indeed I've been saying so for a very long time, that the instinct of Keir Starmer will be to reverse Brexit, but it won't be done openly. It'll be done by stealth. It'll be done gradually. It will be one cumulative piece assembled with another, and bit by bit the tapestry will start to assemble in the direction that he has always believed. I was in the government when the Prime Minister was negotiating on behalf of Jeremy Corbyn, for heaven's sake, with the Conservative government to see if we could find a way of bringing it in. And
that's Theresa May, of course.
Yes, and fulfilling the decision of the British people of 2016. And I recall vividly then just what it became clear was the objective, which is to reverse Brexit. It was an aim for a second referendum. We were on the
And that's where we're going with this government, you think?
Well, I don't think he'll go...
They say not, of course.
I don't think he'll go... I don't think he's as brave as that, frankly. I think what it'll be done is stealthily. And I'm not necessarily saying that some plan and scheme for under-30s is a bad thing. I think that might be fine. Where I think is the red line is the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice.
Yeah.
I think that would be...
That's a sovereignty issue,
That
isn't it?
would be a red line.
That goes to the heart of sovereignty.
I think it would go directly against the decision the British people took. I think I'd be surprised if he did it, because it would require moral and political courage.
Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer is facing one of the toughest tests of his leadership as outrage erupts over his proposed reset of Anglo-European relations. The leaked EU document outlining Brussels' push for greater access to UK fishing waters has left Britain's coastal communities fuming and Labour scrambling to contain the fallout. With Reform UK and the Conservatives seizing on the controversy, Starmer's coastal strategy is teetering on the edge of collapse. For decades, fishing communities were at the mercy of EU quotas, which allowed foreign vessels to dominate British waters. Brexit promised to change all that, and Boris Johnson's Get Brexit Done campaign secured a landmark victory in 2019, flipping 81 coastal seats. However, Johnson's deal only returned 25% of EU quotas, far below the 60% initially promised, and new red tape drove up costs for fishermen. Many coastal voters felt let down, paving the way for Labour to win 67 of these seats in 2024. But now, Starmer's perceived willingness to negotiate further concessions to the EU is sparking fears of betrayal. Fishing has long been a powerful symbol of sovereignty for Brexit voters. While it accounts for a relatively small portion of the UK economy, the industry represents the cultural heart of many seaside towns. Starmer's plan to improve EU relations by reopening talks on fishing rights is being seen as an existential threat to communities that feel they've already sacrificed enough. The outrage is palpable. Chris Mummery, a vocal Reform UK supporter and advocate for fishermen's rights, declared, "Labour has abandoned us. Reform UK is the only party that truly understands the importance of protecting our waters and our livelihoods." Reform UK, led by Richard Tice, is capitalising on the discontent. The party is gaining momentum in coastal areas, with recent polling suggesting they could win an additional 5 seaside seats in the next election. Reform UK's promise to prioritise British sovereignty and fishing rights is resonating with voters who feel abandoned by both Labour and the Conservatives. Adding fuel to the fire, former Attorney General Sir Geoffrey Cox has publicly accused Starmer of preparing to reverse Brexit by stealth. His comments, widely shared online, have galvanised Eurosceptics and left Labour's coastal support base even more vulnerable. Cox's warning has become a rallying cry for critics who believe Starmer is sacrificing national interests for the sake of EU appeasement. Meanwhile, the Conservatives are attempting to rebuild their coastal support by pledging renewed investment in the fishing industry and vowing to block any EU attempts to reclaim British waters. However, their credibility remains damaged by the shortcomings of Johnson's Brexit deal, leaving many voters sceptical of their promises. Starmer's team insists that the reset with the EU is necessary for economic stability and reducing trade barriers. They argue that a stronger relationship with Brussels will benefit all sectors, including fishing. But these reassurances ring hollow for coastal communities, where voters see fishing as non-negotiable. The leaked EU document, which outlines plans to demand greater access to UK waters, has only deepened fears that Labour is prioritising diplomacy over sovereignty. Richard Tice has wasted no time capitalising on Labour's perceived weakness. He's been touring coastal towns, holding rallies, and meeting with local leaders. His message is clear. Reform UK will fight to protect Britain's waters and ensure the fishing industry thrives. For voters disillusioned by Labour and the Conservatives, Tice's promises offer a glimmer of hope. The political stakes couldn't be higher. Coastal constituencies represent a significant portion of Labour's recent gains, and losing them could have a ripple effect on the party's overall strategy. If Starmer fails to address the growing anger in these areas, he risks undoing Labour's hard-won progress from the 2024 election. The backlash is already making waves within Labour's ranks. Some MPs privately admit that the party underestimated the importance of fishing to coastal communities. They worry that Starmer's handling of the issue could alienate a crucial voting bloc and hand an advantage to Reform UK and the Conservatives. For now, Starmer appears committed to his plan, arguing that strengthening ties with the EU is essential for Britain's long-term prosperity. However, the perception of betrayal is proving difficult to shake. Coastal voters, who have endured years of broken promises, are demanding clear assurances that their interests will be protected. Without them, Labour's support in these areas could crumble. Reform UK's rise poses a serious threat to both major parties. What was once considered a fringe movement is now gaining traction, particularly in communities that feel overlooked by Westminster. For fishermen and their families, Reform UK represents a voice that truly understands their struggles and aspirations. The fight for Britain's coastal constituencies is shaping up to be one of the most contentious battlegrounds in the next election. Labour's red wave swept across the seawall in 2024, but the tide is turning. Whether Starmer can weather this storm remains to be seen, but one thing is clear: Britain's fishing communities won't be ignored. If you want more updates on Starmer's EU negotiations, the coastal backlash, and all the latest political drama, hit that subscribe button, give us a like and stay tuned, because this story is far from over.